Hi folks, it's Andy and welcome to today's Kendo rant. Maybe it should be called Kendo Q&A. That's another comment I received again. So yeah, maybe you're right. I'm certainly doing that today. So let's get straight to the question. So hello, how are you? I'm second Dan, and I was wondering to know if I can do ski against a higher Dan opponent during Jigeko or even in a Shiai, and if this would be considered not very respectful. Right. It depends on your dojo. Speak to your senpai, speak to your sensei about doing it in Jigeko. Ask them if they feel that it's disrespectful for them to do it, for you to do it. I don't think it should be. I wouldn't consider it so, but some people would. And it's silly. I don't see why that some people do, but some people do. So it's best to ask them first and foremost. If you're practicing with me and you popped out at ski, then great. That's cool. I would take it as a green light to say, okay, you're happy and comfortable with tsuki waza, so that means I can practice them too. I'm not saying that I'd turn around and punish you for it and I'd be hammering you with the ski necessarily, but I just take it, like I say, to mean, okay, you're comfortable with tsuki, so we can both practice ski during the practice, which is fair enough, I think. Okay, so that's my thoughts on that. Okay, next one. I've been interested in the gap between 5th to 6th Dan, so I'd like to ask, what are you doing to attempt to gain your 6th Dan? What follows from achieving 5th Dan, as you mentioned in this video? What creates the gap? Right, difficult one, to be honest. I'm not particularly focusing on one specific thing for my 6th Dan, which may be wrong. I might not do well with it, but I just want to improve my Kendo as much as I can in the way that I see fit, and that, in my opinion, it should follow that I'll be able to achieve 6th Dan by doing that. My keiko is essentially I'm trying a lot to basically achieve debana waza above all else, which I've just posted a video about, by the way. A new episode of the Kendo Show is now live about debana waza. But essentially, I want to be able to apply seme and be in control of my opponent, make sure that I have good tame and that there is riai to my attacks. Okay, so making sure that I am instigating the attack, they are moving in response to my actions, and that I'm able to achieve debana men above all else. Failing that, potentially degote or nukido. Nukido is one of my favourite ojiwaza. I'd certainly prefer to do that than kaishido. So yeah, that's what I'm sort of looking at. I'm looking at building that pressure, having that seme, and making sure. It's a lot like the advice I gave for 6th Dan, really, but it's just that both parties are now at a higher level, so the whole thing becomes a little bit harder. Really, I don't think that it's not like there's a new special thing you have to demonstrate. You have to sort of demonstrate the same thing. Just it's that both people trying to do so are now more experienced. So yeah, that's my sort of thoughts on that. Okay, hi Andy, great video. I'd love to leave you 2 questions about kiai. Would you have any advice about how to improve your kiai? And what are your thoughts on the kiai being so different from person to person, but Kendo being so uniform? Okay, by kiai, I'm assuming you mean the shouting that we do, okay? Kiai doesn't actually mean that, it means meeting of spirits. So I think it's been misinterpreted, because when one guy goes, yeah, and this guy goes, yeah, there's sort of spirits are kind of clashing, and that is kiai. That sort of situation of the two spirits kind of coming together, like that is kiai. Or you can say like kiai, like in the terms of building up your spirit and putting your effort in, is kind of another way. But I think you're referring to shouting anyway, so we'll go with that. All right, so in terms of the shouting, do you have any advice about how to improve it? Yes, kirikaishi kakarigeko, basically, especially kirikaishi. If you make sure that you're doing it in complete breaths, so kind of you start yeah, and then man tayatari, you can take a short breath, man, another short breath, and then you do it all again. Yeah, if you're breathing that way in kirikaishi, then I think your shouting will certainly improve, certainly. And what are my thoughts about it being different from person to person, but Kendo being so uniform? I actually don't think Kendo is that uniform, all right? Yes, there's certain things in Kendo that are very uniform, and there's things that are considered correct and things that are considered incorrect. It's certainly not freestyle. But at the same time, everybody has their own individualities in their Kendo, and their shout is part of that. Everyone has a different way of moving, and they have a different posture. Everyone's Kamae is slightly different. Everybody's way of holding the Shinai is slightly different. Swinging the Shinai is slightly different. That's why that if you watch like a really high-level Shiai, for example, or a very famous competitor, if you watch one of those guys, I mean, you can tell who they are. You don't need to look at their zekken, or you don't need to be told who they are. A lot of the time, you can recognize them from their movements or their kamae or their shouting. So I think it's normal to have slight individualities in everybody's kendo. I certainly don't think that's a bad thing at all. So yeah, that's great. Okay. This is a good one. This has become quite a big question actually, because it's kind of blown up a bit on the early access group as well. Hi Andy, what's your opinion / thoughts on pre-war kendo and the techniques attributed to it, such as ashibarai, that means the foot sweep, brackets as practiced by the police kendo clubs, or the dodsuki, I think you mean munetsuki actually, but anyway, which I remember reading was removed as a fairness rule towards Jordan players. Yes, it was. Also, why do you feel we almost never see shiai or regular keiko performed in gedan, hasso, or wakigamae? I've seen footage of the late Toda sensei in shiai with a fighter in hasso, but that's almost all I've seen outside of goofing off with some of my dojo mates. It seems a shame to me that these kamae are not taught outside of the kata. Right, that's two parts of that question. I'm going to deal with them separately. So first, let's talk about pre-war kendo. What's my opinion and thoughts on it? Pre-war kendo is an extremely important and integral part to kendo's history, and it's because that kendo was like that it's become what it has. So it's very, very important, and it's it's certainly not something that should be forgotten. In terms of its techniques, I don't think many of them are relevant today. Ashibarai, the foot sweep, I don't think it's relevant today. Munetsuki, which was removed because it was too easy to score against Jordan. I think it was pretty easy to score against Chudan, to be honest. I don't think it's a relevant technique, to be honest. In terms of munetsuki, look, here's the thing. For me, Kendo's not sword fighting, all right? It's not about winning a sword fight. It's not about beating your opponent. It's about beating yourself. Kendo is supposed to be hard, and the criteria of Yuko Datotsu are supposed to be extremely difficult. We're supposed to be putting ourselves under extreme pressure, extremely difficult situations, and trying to keep calm and able to achieve these very difficult things under such circumstances. And by doing so, we're able to improve as people. That's the idea of Kendo. Yeah, it's not about sword fighting. It's not Kenjutsu. It's very different in that way, and that's why I think the removal of Munetsuki is a perfectly valid decision. Further, I think that the Ashibarai, I don't think there's a place for Ashibarai, the foot sweep, in Kendo competition at all. It very rarely happens. There's only one tournament in Japan that it's allowed at, and that's the police championships. And it very rarely happens there because, frankly, it's a pointless exercise. It might shake the other person up or make them upset or annoyed or something like that, but you can't score any points from it. They don't get handsuck for it. There's nothing like that. So it's something that sort of harks back to the days of when Kendo was about real sword fighting and when it was more like Kenjutsu, but it's not anymore. Kendo isn't about that, and I don't think that we need to be trying to trip each other over, throw each other on the floor, to kind of, be doing doing the art that we love. I think that takes away from what Kendo is supposed to be. So that's my opinion on that, to be honest, in terms of that. I mean, yeah, that'll do, I think, before I say anything too controversial. Right, let's get into the Kamae though, because this was asked on the Kendo show early access group as well. Why do we never see Shiai or regular Keiko performed in Gedan, Hasso, or Wakigamae, right? Right, we don't see it because it's not effective. It's not. You're perfectly free to try it, but if you're against anyone that's any good, they'll beat you because it's not an effective technique. You mentioned the match of Toda Sensei against, I think it was Kondo Sensei, the guy was called, at the Kyoto Taikai, that decided to go into Hasso against Toda Sensei's Nito. Now, again, maybe I shouldn't really say this, but he did so. He went into Hasso with very little effect. I don't remember him making anything that we would consider Yuko Datotsu. I remember him sort of going into Hasso, making a couple of sort of, I mean, he might have hit one or two, I can't remember, but like Toda Sensei hit a lot more, let's put it that way. He kind of got beat down on a bit, frankly. And if that had been Sanbon Shobu, which it wasn't, because it was the Hanshi division of the Kyoto Taikai where the points aren't recorded. If it had been Sanbon Shobu, then I think Toda Sensei would have won it very quickly. And I think, you know, that it's kind of testament as to that it's not a super useful technique. And some of the comments on the other thread, on the Kendo Show Early Access thread, mentioned about using Gedan to entice them to hit men so that you could do Kaishido. I don't encourage that, to be honest, because I've got a new video coming out actually about Ojuwaza. It's not been edited yet, but I filmed it at the same time as I filmed the Debanowaza video, and it kind of follows on from the points of that. And in that, I'm going to talk about a concept called machiken. Machiken means the waiting sword. And I think that people that often use the technique of going to Gedan to try and get them to do men so they could do Kaishido, I think that comes from a place of machiken. It doesn't come from a place of seme. Okay, Ojuwaza doesn't really work very well in that case. Yeah, what happens is they drop the Kensen and then wait for the men. Yeah, and then when the men comes, they try for the Kaishido. Now, if you're against anybody that's any good, they'll hit your men. They'll hit your men before you can do the Ojuwaza. I'm pretty sure of it. Because you're not coming at it from a position of seme, you're coming at it from a position of waiting. So I don't think that's a really effective use of Gedan. It's, you know, I think you'll find yourself on the receiving end of men or tsuki. I've never seen anyone use it particularly effectively. Anyway, Hasso, yeah, same thing. Again, I think it was yourself that commented about it actually on the thread as well, saying about using Hasso as a form of nukiwaza. Like kote nuki men. Let's see if I can kind of, so you kind of bring the shinai back this way and then kote misses and then you hit men. Again, I talk about this kind of kote nuki men in the Ojuwaza video that's going to be coming out soon. I don't consider this Hasso no Kamae, okay? Hasso no Kamae, you step forward with your left and your shinai comes to this side, right? Okay, maybe you could call this like a kind of gyaku Hasso or something, I don't know, right? But for me, this is Katsugi, yeah? Because it's not a Kamae, it's a movement, okay? Pam, pam, 1, 2, like this, 1, 2. Yeah, it's not kind of a Kamae. You sometimes do see Hasso, actually though, in practitioners that do Jodan. Okay, so they'll be doing Jodan like this, at Jodan, and every now and again they drop down like this. But it's, I think it's quite discouraged by most sensei, most Jodan level sensei. But that's probably the only place that you'll see hassle, is where they're in Jodan, seme. And they're almost using it as a kind of feint, where they look like they're going to attack, but actually they're dropping to hassle, and then they might attack from there. That's potentially a kind of use of it. Wakigamai, forget it. Wakigamai it's just not relevant in current Kendo. All right. Wakigamai it's a kamae that's there to hide the length of your sword, and generally you would use it for upward strikes. Or sideward strikes, as far as what I've been told. I don't know anything about Kenjutsu though, so I could be totally wrong. So if you write on there and tell me about how in whatever Itoryu, whatever, they use it to do this or what have you, or fine, I'm wrong about that perhaps. I don't know, but if you stand against me and you put your sword behind your back, I'll be hitting you very quickly and you won't be able to do much about it. I'm pretty sure about that. Okay, so it's just not it's not an effective kamae. It just isn't. So that's why I don't think that it's there. It seems a shame to me that these kamae are not taught outside of kata. I don't think it's a shame. They're only taught in the kata as a way of preserving Kendo's history. That's what kata is for us to study the history of Kendo and to allow us a kind of more, how can I say, like a more in-depth way of studying some of the deeper concepts of Kendo, which are irrelevant to the physical movements to some extent. So, like I say, it's part history and part a deeper study of the kind of deeper concepts of Kendo. It's not about whether they're using hasso, or whether they're using wakigamai, or this kamae or that kamae. It's about the interaction between the uchitachi and the shitachi, for example. But it's not, I don't think it's a shame that they're not taught outside of kata, because they're just not useful waza. They're just, kamae, they're just not useful in the context of Shinai Kendo. Now, if you're talking about Kenjutsu, that's a different conversation. You'd have to ask somebody else that knows about Kenjutsu, because I don't. I only know about Kendo, and Kendo is not Kenjutsu, and to me, it's not about sword fighting or winning duels. It's about improving yourself as a character and overcoming obstacles that are put in front of you, largely by yourself. And that's why it's not really about it's not about winning. It's not about winning and losing. It's not about sword fighting. I feel like the argument, the contingent inside Kendo that argues that Kendo should be about sword fighting is akin to arguing that Kendo should be about winning and losing. When I think they're kind of equal, on equal footing, because Kendo's not supposed to be about that. It's Kendo, not Kenjutsu. So that's my feeling on it. Okay, I might well be wrong. You might disagree. If I am, let me know in the comments down there. Yeah, that's it on that. Last one. This is a comment rather than a question. It goes on to the head injuries that we talked about, and the commenter says research pretty clearly shows that risk of concussion and long-term brain damage is higher if the strike causes significant movement of the head, and more so side to side or diagonal turning than directly backwards or forwards tilting. From what I've seen, blows that cause to the head blows that cause the head to turn don't really happen in Kendo. No, they don't. They don't. So I don't think. So what he's talking about is when your head is tilting this way, I believe, which doesn't happen so much in Kendo. At least at my school, most people who've instructed me on putting on the men have stressed one final step after tying it, grabbing the sides and back edge of the men and pulling it out to the sides away from the head. The purpose of this is that there's apparently a possibility of creating a bit of a seal of air around your ears, a kind of bubble of high pressure air in your ear. And if struck on the side of the head, it could provide enough to rupture the eardrum. No idea of the validity of this, but it was a major point of instruction. Right, I don't know if you can create some sort of air pocket here that could cause a rupture in your eardrum. I don't know. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. But what I would say is you're dead right. Once you tied the men, you should tie the knot. I've got a video about this as well on the Kendo show. Yeah, how to wear the Borger. Search the Kendo show, how to wear the Borger. But you should try and tie the knot at the level of your eyes. Okay, you tie the knot, you tie it as tight as you can. You can tie it a little bit lower than your eyes, because what you're going to do next is you're going to take the mendare and you're going to pull them this way. Yeah, I'm talking about the mendare now, not the himo. We're going to pull them and open them sort of forward this way. So we create a nice shape like this, and we take the knot will slide up a little bit if you do that, if you've tied it lower than your eyes. So that's why I say you can tie it a little bit lower, because you're going to pull it up here, so it's going to slide up a bit, and you're going to take the pressure that's like this, you're going to bring it off your ears like this. Okay, and that's going to do a lot for helping you relieve ear pressure and any pain that you get on your ears. And I'm sure that if anyone's sort of got hearing related problems due to Kendo or what have you, that might be something to do with it. Okay, you can't have your men button pressed flat against it. It's not good, it's dangerous, it'll hurt your ears. It means that your men's stuck like this, and then the men that are going like this, it's called tackle men, which means octopus men, because it looks like a cartoon octopus. It has to be shaped like this, like Mount Fuji, yeah, like this, because that's what the mendare are for. If they miss the men, it glances off this way. The mendare guide them off this way. Whereas if it's flat against your shoulders like this, it comes straight down onto your shoulders, and it's going to hurt. You're going to get bruises here as well. Okay, so tying your men is a big thing as well. Okay, so thank you for that point. So that's it for today. Thank you for watching and staying with me through that ramble. I hope I made some sort of coherent sense. It's been a long week, to be honest. I've had a very, very busy week. Our sale over at KendoStar is going nuts, so I've been absolutely mental getting everybody's orders out, packed up and shipped, helping the team here do all that as well, getting the emails replied to, all the stuff that's involved in running KendoStar, which is a lot, especially at a busy time like it is. But get over to KendoStar, make sure you shop there, because that's what supports us doing this. It's what makes sure that I can keep bringing these videos to you. I really love doing it. I hope you are enjoying them. We are still getting great feedback from it. So, you know, leave me a comment. Let me know what you'd like to talk about next time, or like me to rant on, if you've got something you're wondering about. Check out the latest episode of the Kendo show. It's all about Dabano Aza. It's up there on the YouTube channel, or you'll find it on the KendoStar website as well. Like, subscribe, social share, all that sort of thing. You know what to do. And I think that's pretty much it for today. And I'll see you next time. Have a good weekend.